I'm only human. I'm only human. I'm only human.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Sports Talk. I am your host, like always, Zach Barnett. I have a special guest with me today, and I don't think he needs any introduction. But my special guest, he went to the University of Maine, played tight end, and went to the NFL and had a nice career. My guest, his name is Matt Mulligan. Stay tuned for the interview. This interview is brought to you by B&D Sports Media. How was your time with the Patriots, man?
It was good. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, that was a number of years ago now, but this season would be 7 years ago, which is crazy how fast time goes. But
Definitely, man.
Bill Belichick's a tremendous coach. I had a tremendous teammates. I loved playing with all of them. They were all great guys. I had a position coach, George Gotts, who's a tight ends coach. He's still coaching. I believe he's at the Dolphins.
Yes, sir.
Just a lot of great people there. The environment is not for everyone because not everybody always wants to be held accountable. But
Definitely,
at the New England Patriots, you will be held accountable to the letter of the law, and I just tried to do my best. And
Definitely,
I was grateful for my time there.
Definitely, man. So let's scroll it all the way back to your childhood, man. What moment made you choose football over any other sport that you could have played, man?
I didn't play football at all until college.
Really?
So I never played football through my entire childhood, even through high school.
What did?
So for me, it was more or less like I'd always had interest in it. But
yes, sir.
Once I had to get to college, I decided that I didn't want to have any regrets. So I decided to start. I started playing football at Hudson College and played there 1 year, transferred to Maine, University of Maine Orono, sat out 1 year, and then played 2 years there. So.
Yes, sir. So, what made you start football so late, man?
We didn't have it at my high school, so really? I graduated with 38 kids.
Whew,
so we were a small school, and I played soccer, basketball, I did tennis, I did track. I did a lot of different things, but it was all but football. We just didn't have the kids to make up the team. So I could have. There's a neighboring high school that had football. They had probably twice as many kids as we. Well, probably more than that. They had probably 3 times as many kids as we had. But I could have gone there and played, but I just decided to stick where I was, and I had all my classmates that I grew up with, and I didn't want to leave them just to go play football. And plus, I enjoyed the other sports that I was playing, so I just never picked it up.
Yes, sir. I completely understand, man. So, coming from Maine and going to the NFL, to the Jets, how was that transition for you, man?
So what happened was I actually went from Maine to the Dolphins first.
Yes, sir.
So I went to Miami right out of college, and then from there I went to Nashville. And then from there, I went to the Jets. But the Jets was the first time that I started actually playing. I actually had active reps. I was on the active roster.
Yes, sir.
And on the 53-man and all of that. So, but it was an incredible transition. To be honest with you, I was fairly naive. Coming out of, I never had spent more than probably at any given time 2 weeks out of Maine in my life, and a couple of times was to go visit my buddy in Orlando for spring break. Me and my buddy went, and I went with my parents one time and at both times I went to Disney World.
Yes, sir.
So that was my spring break. But other than that, I traveled with my buddies, but I just had never been outside of Maine, and I went to Miami, Florida, and they take care of you, but it was a good thing that football is a constant thing. Once you get there in the NFL, you don't have any time to really do anything. So I spent most of my time at the facility, and then I lived in Weston, Florida.
Yes,
so
sir.
it was just kind of about 45 minutes to an hour outside of Davie, where we had the facility. So, all those things, but it was crazy. It was an incredible experience. I made a lot of choices I probably shouldn't have just because I was, like I said, I was naive as far as, oh, no, I can drive in this place and I can go here and I can go there. But I remember my roommates telling me, they're like, listen, man, this is an Enfield, Maine. You can't just be driving anywhere you want. But the football experience was great. The Jets, when I get to the Jets with Rex Ryan, he is a tremendous person. I love Rex. I love playing for him. I played for him for 4 years. So I played him 3 years at the Jets and 1 year at the Bills.
Yes, sir.
And he's a tough dude. He knows his football, but he doesn't make it a chore. It's your job, but he does not make it a chore. And I think there's the difference a lot of times is sometimes coaches can, really get on you, and if that's what they want to do, that's their prerogative. But I don't believe that football has to be a chore. It should be something that guys love, and when they do that and they want to play for you, I believe you get more out of them. You have better teams. We had 2 AFC champions. We got to the AFC championship twice when I was at the Jets. So it shows that Rex has a good mindset, and I haven't, guys that have played for him for any length of time, I believe they would say the exact same thing as I've said.
Yes, sir. So tell me a little bit about your bond with Mike DeVito, man.
Mike is an incredible man. I love Mike to death. Mike and I are 2 peas in a pod, basically. He's a tremendous human being. I'd consider him another brother.
Yes,
it's just the way it is. Like he lives about 50 minutes from me, but we went to the University of Maine together, and so we were at Maine. We lived together in an apartment at Maine, and then he was a year ahead of me, so he went on and he got picked up by the Jets, and then the second year in the league, when I was in the league, in his third year, we ended up living together for 2 years at the Jets, actually.
Yes, sir.
But Mike, so DeVito, he wouldn't have probably got to this in his interview, but considered, to me, I don't care what anybody says, and I know strength. When he was playing in the National Football League, he was the strongest man in the entire league. There's nobody that could squat like Mike DeVito. There's nobody that had the explosiveness, off the line, especially for his position that he had to be able to stonewall guys. I mean, you ask any old lineman that ever played against him, they said, we never felt strength like that. And that's the truth. And I've been on many teams. I've been on 10 teams, and I had to play against Mike a couple times and scout him. And that was always a scouting report. When I was at the Dolphins in 2008, Tony Sperano Sr., rest his soul, he was up there in front of the whole team, and he said, when in the offensive meeting, he looked at the O-line, he said, I'm just telling you guys, this man right here, and he pointed to number 70, Mike DeVito on the Jets, he said, he's the strongest man you will ever go against. He said it right there in the team meeting.
Whew.
So Mike has that. But Mike, I say all that because Mike took my strength levels and took and what I understood in football to another level because he always did things the right way. And I just tried to emulate what he did.
Yes,
like him and I would train together in the off season, and because he was always stronger than I was, like I always had somebody to aspire to. I always had somebody to get, say, look, I got to catch him. And we just always been close. We trained together 4 or 5 days a week every off season for his entire 9-year career.
Yes, sir.
And then I played 1 more year after he got done, so I had 9 as well. So we didn't train then because he was retired and all those things that go along with that. But it blessed my soul. And then now, just as far as our relationship, it's just as close as it's ever been, and love him to death.
Yes, sir. So you were talking about his strength. Do you think he matches James Harrison? You probably played against James.
Oh yeah, I played against James. James has nice videos. He has good videos, but James doesn't push the weight that DeVito and either one of us push.
Yeah.
And James is really strong. Don't get me wrong. Don't take anything against him. And there's probably things James can do that I can't and that Mike can't. But you're talking about 500-pound benchers. You're talking about DeVito being mid-sevens squatting with just a belt. You're talking full depth. You're talking well over 700-pound deadlifters. I mean, so we're not talking about small weights here. We're talking about big time weights.
I completely understand.
So it's like
man.
James is extremely explosive. Obviously, a tremendous football player. I don't take anything away from him. Like I said, there's probably things he can do that we can't. But when it comes down to those core lifts, Mike DeVito, I'd stack him up against anybody when he was playing. And listen, we were on teams with Chris Jenkins. If you look him up,
yes, sir.
400-pound man. We were on teams with Damian Woody, who was a big bench presser. He played a long time in the National Football League. You go right down through the list of guys that were big-time guys that were strong. And I played with a lot of them. Like Roberto Garza was a center for the Bears. I played with him at the Bears. Incredibly, gifted football player, but ridiculously strong. He actually has an Instagram page, still lifts wicked heavy, really strong guy. But when we talk about overall strength, Mike DeVito is.
Yes, sir.
It's hard to match up with that.
So, what went wrong with the Atlanta defense when you were with New England for the touchdown?
Man, I got open. What are you talking about? I don't know what went wrong with them. All I know is
they gave you a free release.
Tommy slung that baby in there. He threaded the needle.
Free release, man. Hey, was that because of Gronk?
No, it's Gronk. Was Gronk? I don't even know if Gronk was playing in that game.
I believe so.
I don't think Gronk was playing in that
Patriot
game.
fan, man.
I can't remember, but I know Who-Man. It was Who-Man,
yes, sir.
Devlin, and myself on the field. I don't think Gronk was in there at that time, but anyway, I don't know if he's come back from injury. I think that may have been the case, but it just kind of like it was supposed to go to Who-Man. He was supposed to be the initial option. James was the second.
Yes, sir.
Into the flat, and then I ran that. The route that I ran, and it ended up being that they were so focused on those.
Yes,
so for
sir.
me, like I don't go out for many passes, so.
You were like, give me that
second,
thing.
The linebacker there, he was like, you could tell him and that DB both were like, oh, dang.
Yes, sir.
And Tommy threaded the needle. If you're open, that's the one thing about Tom Brady. If you are open, he is more than likely going to find you.
Yes, sir. So, what do you think about his transition to the Bucs, man?
I think it'll be great. I do. I think Tom is the ultimate competitor, and I'm not saying anything anybody else hasn't said, but he's a great guy in the locker room. It'll be tremendous benefits for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to have him down there from a leadership standpoint, knowledge, credibility, experience, you name it, anything football-wise. Tom being down there is a tremendous upside for them, and obviously, to me, I mean, look, you have the best quarterback of all time.
Definitely, he's the
all time, and it's not even close.
Yes, sir.
And so you have him on your team now, and he's still slinging it, still in great shape. And anybody can say what they want as far as his career and whatever may be doing right now, but I'll tell you right now, I'm going to look for Tom Brady to have one of the better seasons he's had in a long time.
Yes, sir.
So it'll be great. It'll be great for Tom too. A great thing for Tom. It's like get to go through free agency and be coveted and go to a place he wants to go and just experience new things. I know he's had obviously a lot of experiences in life, but this is one of the things he never had in the National Football League. He's never been on a different team.
Yes, sir.
Never been in a different locker room. And there's a lot of different things that come with that. There'll be change. There'll be hardships for him, too, but there'll be, a lot of glory in that as well. And I really look for them to be a very good team this year.
Definitely, man. So, with your time with the Patriots, man, what did you take away from Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, man? What things did they teach you as a player?
Well, you try to learn from everybody. Rob is younger. Rob is quite a bit younger than I am. But you got to learn. It doesn't matter. And Tom's quite a bit older, so it doesn't matter who they are or who you play with or who your teammates are. You should try to learn something from anybody, especially in your own position. For Tom, is just to be a consummate pro. Just always, every day, you come in, he's the same guy. He's ready to work. He expects perfection. out of himself and everyone else. He did just that type of look. It's like you look at him, you're like, look, I don't have to ever think about what Tom Brady's going to be like because he's going to be the same dude. And as far as like my time with Gronk, just a great human being, just to have fun, and the one thing I'll say this about Rob, and everybody talks about his accolades and his ability to catch and run and block and do all those things. And obviously he was selected as one of the top tight ends of all time, and as he should be. But his perseverance and his toughness, his mental toughness to get through all of the injuries that he had is incredible. And it's not revered enough. It's not held up enough as far as his career, because that man had a lot of stuff going on with his body.
Definitely, man.
And he never complained. He never complained about what was going on with him. He'd suck it up and go out and do the best he possibly could do and always be ready, always worked hard in the weight room, on the practice field, all these different things. And that's the thing that I took from him, if I was going to take anything from him, was the fact that he always had a good vibe about him, even when he was going through so much pain. So if you can have that much pain and have that much setback and have all those difficulties, from the year I was there, he tore his ACL, all those things, and continue to be top-level athlete and do what he's done, that takes a great human being. So that's something that people should really think about when they think about Gronk.
Definitely, man. Got two more questions for you, man.
All right, brother.
With these younger players retiring so early, do you think that's going to be the new trend, man?
Hard to say. I doubt it. I think it's been blown way out of proportion. Look, these guys that have decided to do that, that's their prerogative. And if they feel it's best for themselves and their physical wellness, their mental wellness, their spiritual wellness, or their family, or whatever it may be, then they should do that. But no, I think that the amount of people that want to play football and understand that there's risks to anything in life, not just football. There's risks to, listen, I played soccer, and let me tell you something. When that ball is kicked up in the air really high and you go and head that before it gets down to the ground, you see stars doing that too.
Yes, sir.
And they've done a lot of research on soccer players and their brains and things because of headers and, boxers and MMA, and, you go right down through it. So there's risk to any type of sport or anything you do in life. Anytime you walk out the door, there's risk.
Definitely.
So no, I don't think it'll be the trend. I think a lot of young men coming up through really, really, really want to play in the National Football League. I think you'll still see the vast majority of guys, if they get that opportunity, they'll play it out as long as the NFL calls.
Yes, sir. So my last question, Mr. Mulligan, the lessons and the trials and tribulations of football, have you applied those lessons to your personal life?
You always try to do, I think as far as an individual, you try to take anything that you go through in life, and you got to allow it to try to make you a better person. It's not always easy, and you may not always get there immediately. But with football, from bouncing around to city to playing, in 10 organizations in 9 years, to being cut 11 times, to having all of those setbacks, but at the same time, I had many things that I was able to relish in, from AFC Championship games, from 2 with the Jets to 1 with the Patriots, to all the guys that I'm still friends with, and all the people I've met, from players and coaches and owners and general managers and people that I still have connections with to this day. I wouldn't trade it, ever. People have asked me before, would you go and do it again? And I say yes, because I wouldn't be the man I am today if it hadn't been for all of that. And one of the things that it brings in my particular career is that it allows you to say, when you get into other situations and maybe you see other people's hardships, or you go through other things in life, you can say, okay, those things, I've been through those things before, or because someone else is going through a hardship, you can't necessarily say you know exactly how they feel, because they're their own individual, but you might be able to provide some support and maybe some wisdom to their lives because, you've been through some tough things as well. So, look, everything's not gravy. Everything's not, sweet and sugary and, it's all of that. It's not always roses and the road can be hard and windy, but at the end of the day, that's anything in life. And I was grateful for my time in football, and it changed my life. It made you grow up quick out of college because if you didn't, you would be cut and be gone. And I faced that bell many times in the National Football League. But the biggest thing I take away from it, from anything, is to always try to overcome and always be ready the next time your number is going to be called.
Yes, sir.
So that's whether any job in life or anything that comes that maybe didn't end or the way you wanted or you didn't get to the place you wanted, but if there's another new avenue, another new opportunity, hit that thing as hard as you can, but always be ready. That's my thing, is never let your guard down and never be complacent and always say, look, I'm ready to go for whatever's next, whatever God has for my life next. That's where I'll go, and I'll give it my 100%.
Yeah.
That's all, folks, from our interview today. Stay tuned for more from Sports Talk with Zach Barnett. Thanks again, and God bless.